All right, it's another episode of the Cedric Maxwell Podcast. I am Josue Pavone. He is Cedric Maxwell. We got special guest Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. He's also on the A-List podcast. And, of course, we got a lot to discuss. Ime Udoka, the Celtics announced suspended for a year for improper relationship with a woman of the Celtics organization. This whole thing spilled out. Gary, you had an interesting column that came out before the presser talking about just how messy this thing was, right? There wasn't a whole lot of information out. There was a whole lot of speculation, a lot of reports that were surrounding. Of course, Woj was the one who dropped the initial one that just pretty much stated that he was going to be suspended, and that he then put another tweet out saying that Ime's job, he wasn't technically fired. So I think that was the point where everyone was sort of speculating into, what could he have done that warrant a 1-year suspension, but he still has a job. And that's where the Celtics stand right now. But the press conference offered some transparency into his future with the Celtics, which doesn't look promising, of course, because they're not saying that he's going to continue to coach his team after that 1-year suspension. So I guess we can start the conversation there, Gary, because you were there. You were at the press conference Friday. Did anything about what was said throughout that press conference change your opinion from your initial column about just how messy and just how sloppy this whole thing got out, between the Celtics and how they handled the situation?
Well, I thought it was worse because, they hired an independent firm to investigate. When they do that, right, it's something significant. When they hire an independent firm to investigate the off-court habits of the coach and find out who, what, when, and where, what you were doing, where you were traveling, that's really bad. I mean, I can't say it any better. I can't be rosy about this. It's really bad. So obviously the things that they found out, they're not going to release what they found out. People were like, well, they wanted details. I mean, this is not Watergate. They're not going to release all these damn details. One, legally, they're not going to do it. Like, it's just a lot of reasons for the Celtics to remain as quiet as they can on this and say, just trust us. And that's not, do I think that's good enough? Not really, but I understand because I just think you have to be measured about what you say. But obviously, they found out enough information to where this wasn't a suspension of 5 games, 10 games, 30 games. This was like, man, we don't even want your ass in the vicinity. And we need you to leave. And will it be messy? And it probably will take them months to negotiate potential buyout or whatever. That's why they didn't do it, because of the legal ramifications of it, of just firing him. Because it's not like Udoka's going to walk away and say, okay, well, thanks, guys, for the opportunity. I'll just stay fired. No, he's going to fight it. He's going to have his case. So I'm sure they're going to devise ways over the next several months to come up with a buyout to where he can go about his way, try to pursue another NBA job in coming years, and the Celtics can move on with what they're trying to do. And probably, who knows what Joe Mazzulla does, but probably begin a new coaching search.
Yeah, it is. It's just crazy when I thought how everything happened and the tension in the room. This is like, and my girlfriend watches these shows a lot. And it's like Housewives of Atlanta. Well, this is like Housewives of Boston. I mean, this is the drama, the sex, the all the things that kind of came into play that you look at and going, what? And it just seemed so bizarre. And I started getting calls, and I'm sure you got them before me, but probably it was like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, well, what the hell happened? One of the local TV stations. And everybody kept calling. My son kept calling. And then it was just speculation. I spoke to my broadcast partner, Sean Grandy. I was like, well, what could it be? And then when you start thinking about it, in today's time, the only thing that kind of came to your mind was a woman. It had to be a woman. Something happened in there with a woman. And sure enough, that seems to be the case. And it's just absolutely crazy. It's nasty. I don't, as a Celtic fan, Celtic player, been around for a while, this year has just been like the most amazing roller coaster. to go up that mountain, to go to the top, with this team, almost win the championship. Then Bill Russell dies. And then this thing happens. It's just, and then you have injuries with players. It's just hard to fathom how this team goes forward. Now, Gary, one of the things I applauded you about, because every person in America, and I know every person of color in America, was sitting there thinking like, so what about the woman? And your question was like a great question when you said, well, is anybody else going to be suspended or under punishment? And Wick said no. Did that surprise you at all?
Yes and no. It surprised me to a certain extent, but obviously I just think they're afraid of the legal ramifications of having any penalty against the woman, because it might not have been like, it wasn't, let's say, what any of us would do or what most people would do. It's not tasteful, I would say, to sleep with someone at your company, to have a relationship with, whatever the situation, consensual relationship, you're two grown people, you try not to, you're advised when you get a job anywhere, it's like, hey man, you better be careful messing with your coworkers, hollering at your coworkers. You have sexual harassment possibilities, all types of things. I mean, they have all types of rules. Like, you have to be careful with the job place, and this is not the 1980s and the 70s where that stuff was rampant. This is a time now where you got to
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for that.
This wasn't when Max was in action where this was rampant. No, this was now.
You didn't have to say that, Max. Is someone guilty? You feel guilty, son?
I mean, he just. I felt like I was
saying this ain't Max's day,
man. I felt like
this ain't the time. This ain't, everything has changed. You can't make the jokes you used to. You can't say the things you used to say. I watch an episode of Sanford and Son and laugh and cringe at the same time because some of the stuff that they said about everybody, I mean, all races were equally offended. Like, these things. This is the society we're in, and so I think the Celtics were like, listen, what she did wasn't tasteful, but was it fireable? And if we fire this young woman, does she have legal recourse against the team? Can she say that the Celtics, it was a toxic work environment, her superior forced her, she felt pressure? Like, there's a lot of words and things that can go into the situation now that the woman could say happened, and we have to take her word for it. Yeah. This is a new time, and obviously women empowerment is great, and finally they can speak up when they've been wrong, because our mothers were wronged, our aunts were wronged, our grandmothers spent generations being harassed, offended, etc. Now those days are coming to a close, and so she could say, you don't know what it's like for her to have her superior, the coach of the Celtics, a very powerful man, say, hey, I want to date you, or I want to hang out with you. Do you think you'll keep your job? So she has all types of reasons to go, and she could say the Celtics didn't, give me an environment where I could say no. Like, she could blame the Celtics for this. And as Wick said, I thought it was a key thing of he's going to talk individually, every person in the organization, especially every woman, to see how the work environment is. Mm-hmm. Is this a problem with the Celtics? Is this I think Jimmy Golden from Associated Press, like, is this just a one-off situation? Or is this something that is normal within the organization where coworkers are dating each other, superiors are dating their subordinates, all these things are going down, and as long as nobody gets hurt, it's all good. Like, you can't have a Wild West anymore. This is not, this isn't Friends. This isn't Mary Tyler Moore's show. This isn't none of them old times where everybody was just hanging out and messing. No, those days are over. So I think she has a legitimate case to say that, she felt pressured. And obviously, in what Sharania reported was uncomfortable statements. That is lawsuit. You're talking lawsuit territory, especially not only against Ime Udoka, but against the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are trying to stay out of court. Like, Max knows he's trying to stay out of court. They want to be on the court of the Garden. They don't want to be in Boston Superior Court. They trying to stay out of that.
Wish your team could find some next level talent? When your business needs someone with the right skills fast, you need Indeed. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy, because Indeed helps star applicants to shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding. Indeed investments help take the stress out of the hiring process. Your candidates get to prove themselves before the interview, and you can dive deeper into talking about what's important to you. With Indeed assessments, you can select for the skills that matter to you most. Add from a selection of over 100 hard and soft skill tests to your job post and hone in on the candidates with the right skills faster. Indeed assessments can give you a window into how candidates will be on the job. On average, applicants who have scored highly proficient or higher on the reliability assessment were nearly 8 times more likely to consistently attend work, according to Indeed data. Even better, Indeed's the only job site where you can pay for applicants that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed is an unbelievably powerful hiring partner, delivering 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest in 2019. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start now with the $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Maxwell. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/Maxwell. That's Indeed.com/Maxwell. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Well, I talked to Josue. I talked to several players. That old school players. Heard from Paul Pierce saying they should have just been a fine. I talked to another player, former NBA player for the Celtics, and he told me, I think that they should have just swept it under the rug and told Ime. Yeah, I know that look on your face. Said Ime was taking time away from the game. I said, dude, do you know how that would have backfired in the Celtics' face if that had gotten out? There are no secrets now. The last secret I heard was when they got Osama bin Laden. That's the last time that I think somebody didn't tell on something that didn't happen. But this is so bizarre when you think about what this team has done. And I think, and I'm with Gary, I think that they're protecting themselves. This Me Too movement is real. And I don't think that, and I heard a lot of people say, well, why don't you name the woman's name? And who was it that got on Stephen A. Smith? It was Andrews, wasn't it?
Malika Andrews.
Malika Andrews. Yeah, they went back and forth.
He said, dude, stop that, Stephen A. Stop pointing fingers. You don't know all the situations out there. And this is one time where I had to applaud her, because if you don't know the information, the Celtics know the information. And right. I said, and the player also said, well, why would this all happen? I said, well, why would Ime accept this? If anything, if you're gonna fight it, you're gonna fight it. But if you accept it, and his line was, I'm sorry, I didn't, I hurt a lot of people, the players, the team, but at the same time, I'm accepting this decision of the Boston Celtics. And that to me was the key.
Right. And I thought that another quote from Wick from that presser that stood out to me was the fact that he used plural, right? He didn't say this was one instance. He said that there was multiple, cases, but of course he couldn't get into the details of it. So I think that's the part where you have to sort of, like Gary said from the beginning, you have to trust the Celtics that they made the right decision as we wait and see how this thing plays out. Well, maybe we find out more information. Maybe
let me ask you this, Josue.
But there was no way to hide that, though, for a whole year. That was never going to work.
Here's the thing to you and Gary. Who trusts people anymore in this world? Their word. Who's going to be trusting of what the Celtics have said? I know that, what they said is probably true, but people in today's world are so suspicious. And you have so many, as Gary was saying, you got so many stories and details. I mean, I'm hearing about, there were a couple women pregnant and this happened and there's a child. I mean, I'm so many of these things on the internet, which are absolutely bizarre right now. So the trust factor, how do you get there?
Right. That's true.
Like
I'm sure Gary's phone's been blowing up too.
Yeah, you just
Gary's heard some stories.
I mean, people got rumors, people got stuff they've heard, people are telling me, oh man, I didn't know about this dude. Like, it's so much. I mean, you look at that Matt Barnes video where he's always pro player. He went and said, damn, well, when I heard the details, I'm gonna take a seat. I'm gonna take a seat on this one. Like, I ain't on Team Udoka on this one. It's like, well, damn, okay. If Matt Barnes, who drove 85 miles and whipped Derek Fisher's ass, thinks it's bad, it must be bad. Matt Barnes been in some controversy. If he thinks it's bad, he's Matt Barnes is shaking his head like, this is terrible. This is bad for the league.
Here's a question I have for Gary though. Gary, and this isn't, and it isn't to be funny at all, but I really want to know what your wife said about all this, because you're there with her. She's hearing these stories. What did she say to you? Any advice or any comments?
Oh, I mean, she just thinks, she, like a lot of women, thinks he's stupid, thinks he got, and she kind of pointed out to me, as someone who deals with human relations and resources, like, the woman didn't do anything illegal. She just did something distasteful and unsavory. She slept with a coworker. But if it's not in her rules or code of conduct not to be with coworkers, and to maybe, we don't know now, we're hearing a husband's involved, it's not illegal. If it was illegal to cheat on your husband or wife, the prisons would be the prison system would be our biggest earning money. There'd be so many people in jail. There wouldn't be enough people in the streets, right? Unfortunately, that's unfortunately our society, right?
Gary, you want to cut down on traffic? You put that rule in. You have no.
It's illegal to cheat on your wife. There's a lot of brothers going to jail, and a lot of people, whatever race, creed, or color. So it's not illegal for her to do that, right? It's distasteful. It's something that could break up your family. But in terms of just like, so she was like, she didn't do anything wrong. She was just tacky, right? For Ime, sleeping with your subordinate in many companies is illegal because you could threaten them, I won't promote you unless, there's all types of possibilities that obviously aren't as overt anymore. That I'm sure in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when there was the big boss who was 63 years old and the 22-year-old secretary, then that was more times are more blatant back then. You could threaten someone with lack of pay, with demotion or lack of promotion or whatever, or if they don't do this for you or do this with you. So those days are over. And so my wife felt like, he was stupid, which a lot of people are like, man, you a fool. Like, you got plenty of money, you got Nia Long, you have a son, and let's take time to, the son's got to go through it. He's 11 years old. He is not a kid. He's not 3.
He knows what's going on.
He knows what's going on. I mean, he seems to be a very nice young man. He's an artsy young man of what I've been told. He's just a kid. He's not a big hooper or whatever, things like that. But here's a young boy who's got to sit there and watch this drama unfold at 11 years old. And coming from a family and a father who, myself, who, did some things, I remember a lot of things that happened when I was 11. Believe me, I can, that wasn't like, I was so young. I just watched a cartoon. No, right. When I was 11, there's a lot of stories I can tell you before I was 11 that went down. I was like, damn, so I feel bad for the son. No one's talking about that, So I just think everybody, like my wife, what are you doing? Like, why not? There's 1 million women in Boston. I mean, you're head coach of the Celtics. Like, right. It's not illegal for a coach. If it was illegal for a coach to be in the streets, there would be no coaches in the league.
You think, Gary? Really? It's like that?
I'm just saying. Baseball, football, basketball.
Oh, you mean all this? Okay, yeah.
All
yeah,
the
right.
sports.
I'm thinking just NBA. Right?
Yeah, no, well, if it was illegal for coaches to have active sex lives with multiple women and be in the streets and be head coaches of a major league team, whatever sport, there'd be no coaches either. Okay. So essentially, it's not illegal for Ime to be out there. It's not a good look. Doesn't represent the organization well. It doesn't do that, but it happens. Red Sox former manager John Farrell had a relationship with a member of the Boston media. There's been multiple stories about Boston media members in relationships with players and coaching. So this is it's not tasteful, but it's not illegal. Right. It doesn't represent the organization well. The Celtics are not going to encourage that. But to me, I think people are like, dude, you're handsome, rich. You can do that and not be so damn stupid when you're doing it. And
wait.
Lack of intelligence or a problem.
I got a question. And there are a lot of people of color right now who are probably looking at our video and they're screaming out, damn it, would this be different if he was a white coach? I want to put that out to both of you. I know this is a landmine and we're Boston, but right. I can put this out to both of us. Joe, what do you think?
I think the same thing would happen, honestly. I think for a couple of reasons. One, I think it would be the same thing because the Celtics have sort of been in the forefront of hiring, female employees, right? Not only just in the organization, but within on the Celtics coaching staff, So I just think they wanted to send a message here. And again, I'm trusting the Celtics that there's other cases out there, and if that's the case, this is sort of a culture that he was doing. I think you see the same result. What about you, Gary?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's been white coaches. Look at Bobby Petrino in Arkansas. Like it's mostly in college though. White college coaches in basketball and football have acted a fool.
Rick Pitino.
Yes.
No, that's just one case.
Rick Pitino in the restaurant with the woman, sleeping with co-ed, going on campus. Urban Meyer with that girl on his lap, even though he's married. Like, believe me, white men act the fool too. This is not a race thing, right? Like, let me emphasize that. Now, would it be here in Boston different if Udoka was white? That's interesting. I don't know. I can't really say no, but this is so sloppy that you can't pull the brother card on this. Brothers is shaking their heads like big time players are shaking their heads like, damn, Ime, like this is not good for them. Like dudes who do this are like, this is not smart. Right. Like, this is beyond, this might be a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like this could be an issue where he needs therapy. And that is not a joke. That, this is not something that I don't care. Right? I can't do the whole, it's Boston, man. Man.
Right.
Like coach, man.
Right.
Let him have 4 ladies. No. Like, I can't pull that one on this one. This is just shaking your head. Like, this is like, remember Tiger Woods situation? Like, damn, Tiger, like a parking lot of a Denny's. Like what?
What the hell are you doing at Denny's?
Yeah. Remember that? I mean, it was like
the waitress.
Yeah, it was like, damn, Tiger. Like, to me, this is beyond race. This is just like stupidity, a cry for help, or just ego running away. And that happens. And it's happened to a lot of white coaches who have been fired. Now, the question that we could ask in terms of race is whether, like, will they be able to come back?
Petrino, that was going to be my question.
Rick Pitino is at Iona. Bobby Petrino is a football coach at Missouri State University. Like, white coaches who royally screw up have been allowed back in, and that's mostly in college. And sometimes NFL too. I mean, I remember Dennis Erickson apparently was drinking so bad when he was a coach of the 49ers, a former University of Miami coach, Like they hired him a driver. Like, so he, you know what I'm saying? They hired him a driver. He didn't drive nowhere. So they're like, okay, our coach got a problem. We're not going to fire him, but we're going to make sure he don't get caught out in these streets.
He don't get caught again. Right?
So the question is, that's the question. How will the league, how will the powers that be, mostly white, judge Ime Udoka in a couple of years when he tries to get back in, if that's what he wants to do? Yeah. To me, that's a big. What
do you think, Max? Yeah, what do you think?
You know what? I'm best with both you guys. I'm not going to sit here and say the race card. I'm not stupid to think that race sometimes doesn't come in play. But in this particular situation, I don't see race. I see a situation that the Celtics had to make a statement, and they had to go quick. The only silver lining that I see in all this is it didn't happen in the middle of the season. Could you imagine this happening? At least now they can go forward. That's done. You've turned the page, another chapter. Bigger for me in all this was just the speculation with some of my, I'll say, coworkers, female coworkers who were Black, who were on the staff of the Celtics. Those were the young women that I really, really felt bad for. I felt bad for Ime's son. But the women who were accused of doing something that they didn't do, and their faces were plastered all over, that's what pissed Brad off, I think, the most. And that's when Brad, who is clean as he can be, I'm going to go with two guys, I think, and maybe I can be wrong, but I'm going to tell you two guys who didn't have extramarital affairs. The last two coaches was, I can tell you, Danny Ainge, and I'm going to go with Brad Stevens. I'm going to go with those two guys right now.
You put your money on those two?
Squeaky clean next to Barack Obama. But the women of the Celtic staff that got accused and falsely accused of doing this, I feel so bad for their integrity was checked. And that was just so unfair. But it shows me what I talk about the internet. You get information on the internet instantly, but it can be so wrong in so many different ways. And that to me was the travesty about this situation, even more so than what Ime Udoka did.
Well, to me, that's the discrimination part of it in terms of, like, this is what happened. The Woj broke the initial thing about the suspension. And then in the middle of the night, Shams said it was like a relationship with a woman that was consensual but inappropriate. And then the Twitter world, Twitter gangsters started, looking up the staff and they saw Allison Feaster, attractive Black woman, and said, yep, that's her. Like, right. It was natural assumption. Like, that was Black folks, white folks. Like, that is not a race. The people looked at her and said, yeah, that's her. He must be hanging out, hanging with that. He must be trying to get with that. Like, that's the terrible part of this. Allison got pinpointed because she's Black and she's attractive. Because there's a lot of white women we know in the organization that work for the Celtics that didn't get pointed out. Some did, unfortunately, but Allison's the only Black woman or the highest ranking, and she got targeted quickly. And that's not like, that's the discrimination that we have amongst ourselves. That's just people trying to think they know things that they don't. She's really attractive. And, with Ime being with Nia Long, he likes attractive women, so that must be her. And there was a website that's a Laker-based website. It's not affiliated with the Lakers team, but they cover the Lakers, and they posted her picture and was like, this is the only woman, which is, absurd, working in the Celtics organization. Allison Feaster. Like, they ain't look at the marketing, ticket sales, community relations. Like, all we do when we go to the arena is see women that work for the Celtics. Right. Like, it's crazy. And they have the only one. It's her.
Let me ask you, gentlemen, this. And I know it's Twitter, and you can't, but sites like the Lakers saying stuff like that, would she have an opportunity to sue them?
They of course deleted the tweet because I looked it up.
They took it down real quick.
They took it down
because everyone put them on blast.
you know, but that site had like 240,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like, and people just start assuming. So pictures I saw Allison Feaster on Twitter on Friday morning. It was
all
like,
day. Yeah.
You know, Thursday morning. It was like, you know, must be her. Look at her. You know.
Yeah, it was terrible. And Brad Stevens got emotional talking about it.
Yeah,
you know, that's how embarrassing. Right.
And the team left her hanging. Like, I'm not saying but like literally try to do something.
What could they do though?
They could have released
a statement.
They're saying we're investigating this.
So that night
you couldn't. You know, as you said,
if you want to say she is not involved, post it that she's not involved. Right. Like if you want to single her out and protect her in that way, that's what I would do. Because I just think to sit here and let her, okay, Allison, don't look at your mentions, don't look at your like, don't do that today.
Don't let your family look at it. Don't let your family
imagine all the searches for her. Could you imagine all the responses she got?
The
like,
memes.
Yeah, tasteless people who were, you know, just trying to be funny because it ain't funny, you know, but people think they funny. If you think you're funny, go on tour with real comics. If you think you're not funny, these dudes ain't funny on Twitter. You know, they're being jerks because they can't be because they're not in your face.
Trying to get likes.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's like, so to me, like the Celtics could have done something besides release a statement at 10:30 or whatever it was saying, oh, he's suspended.
Right.
And then tell the media at 9:00, oh, we having a press conference at 11. Get your ass here if you can. Because you don't want national media there. You don't want, you know, they sent that release out at 9:01. They had a press conference at 11:00.
I like this. I like this, Joe Swain. I ended up talking to Gary later, and he was talking about, I was in the gym and my coach and my boss called me. I was shooting around, and all of a sudden he said it was at like 9:00, and they said
9 a.m.
Yeah. You get on the press conference? Or what press conference? I ain't looking at my phone. I'm at the gym. I ain't like looking at it. And I looked, I was like, oh, Lord, these fools sent an email like 20 minutes ago. So, you know, it's ridiculous, man. But, I mean, I understand the Celtics were just like, we've got to do this, but we really don't want to. And it's understandable. It's embarrassing for the organization. You think they want to be in the news about this the same week as Robert Sarver and all that? You think they want to be in the news cycle? Like
Brett Favre and all that?
Everybody examining the Celtics organization, what's going on over there? What are they doing? Why did they hire this guy? You mean to tell me they didn't know nothing about it? Like all this stuff comes up now. Brad's ability to evaluate talent or coaching and personalities comes up. The organization, how they know nothing? And Max knows you go just way like people in the NBA talk. Like the NBA is people know when people are acting a fool. People know people's reputations. So you hear things like, hey man, this guy likes to party a lot. This guy like whatever. We hear plenty of things. Like did nobody hear nothing?
Right.
No, not a word. Like we don't know now. Now that's something that has to be examined. Like San Antonio, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, nothing. He was a model citizen. And then here he decides to be Superfly. Like, no, can we just can't, we can't, this can't be.
So right, but there was no other.
You're saying this cannot be a one-off. Is that what I hear you saying?
I don't know. I don't know if
I was going to say, Gary, there was no
process.
I can't think of the last new head coach, going into this first year as head coach that had better reviews than Ime Udoka. Yes. I mean, everybody was saying nothing but positive things from the very beginning, But yeah, well, the conversation shifted, halfway through the press conference because now Joe Mazzola is your interim head coach. The Celtics choosing him over, Damon Stoudemire. Of course, this is Brad Stevens' guy. He was on the coaching staff. He was brought on board in 2019, head coach of a D2 college, first time as a head coach in the NBA. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't even sit anywhere near Ime, right? He's one of the other assistant coaches. He sat in the second row. Now he's put into this big spot. Jason Tatum, he had nothing but great things to say about him throughout the playoffs. How do you feel about this, Gary? Should the Celtics have gone out and tried to get somebody else? Is this just temporary until they can sort of, see what the team looks like? What do you think it is?
Tough decision because, one, they didn't expect this. Two, remember, they got to pay Ime something this year. He ain't suspended for free, okay? So they got to pay a portion of his salary this year. And then, so who do you bring in? Do you bring in, okay, the possibility is Brad coming downstairs
which is brought up.
Okay, I'm going to coach this team.
Brad said no.
Yeah, the problem with that is
he didn't even crack a smile.
It ain't in Brad's heart. Okay, so we'll put it in your heart, and do you want to look in your coach's eyes and by January he's like, I just don't think it's in Brad's heart anymore. And so he doesn't have the energy. I think he lost his energy that last year. That last year took a lot out of him. So that could have happened, and it might have been successful. We don't know. But I also think they don't want to pay another coach. They don't want to coach an entirely new system. They want to do right. Like, here's a key note here. Have any of Ime's assistants resigned?
No.
Have any of them dudes said, no, you did my man wrong. I'm out of here. Hell no. They was at the facility Friday working with the players.
I'm not working for you guys anymore.
What do you say?
Hell no, they ain't leaving.
No, I want you to.
No, you did my boy wrong, man. This is terrible. This is misjustice. I'm leaving. Nope.
He didn't get a fair trial. I'm out.
They was at the facility throwing bounce passing balls
and doing like this.
Setting screens.
Tell them what time you want to work out. I got you. I'll be there.
Right.
Exactly.
Camp's coming up.
And I'm not saying, that's interesting, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. No statement. Sure, not even a statement.
I'm sure them dudes is like, man, hey, bro, I'm your boy, but one, I ain't walking away from a check. Two, you was tripping. And we all got home.
You was tripping anyway.
Boys who did some crazy, dumb stuff, and you were like, I got your back. I mean, kind of way back right now, but, I got to feed my family too. So you got Ime's staff, and then you have, do you bring in a new coach to lead those guys? You can't fire Ime's staff. They ain't do nothing. So what do you do? I think it was the most logical choice, and Brad's a logical guy. Now, how will it work? Do you add a veteran NBA assistant? People talk about Frank Vogel. You don't know if you want someone who's looking for a job or wants to be a head coach. You might hire, you might bring in somebody, like remember back in the, like I'm not saying he's a little old now, but like Larry Brown or somebody who's been through the wars who can just put a hand on Joe's shoulder and say, okay, this is because Joe's got to handle travel stuff. I was talking to Max about this. How long you want to stay in a certain city? How long you want to practice? When the shoot-arounds? Like all these things is now in Mazzulla's lap. And I'm not saying Brad won't help him, but he needs a veteran coach. I think they should bring, and there's plenty of guys who are doing TV who would love to spend a season, with the Celtics, helping out, who could probably be a real instrumental part of that coaching staff. Because right now there's a bunch of inexperienced guys. Ben Sullivan, Damon Stoudemire's in the second year, Aaron Miles in the second. Like, these guys have been other places, but this is a pretty inexperienced staff.
The next part that I want to know is what the hell is it going to be like Monday?
Oh, man.
We've gotten past that day on Friday, the pop-up. That was called the pop-up quiz. That's what that was on, just wait. When they used to go walk in and going, we got a test now. You go, oh, hell, we got a test now? Well, that was a pop-up quiz. But the big test is coming Monday because the players are going to be there. And the questions that the players are going to be asked and how they're going to respond. I wonder, have they been coached to understand what's about to happen or what's to be said or what they can say or what they can't talk about? I wonder if the Celtics have met them and met their needs in that way.
I think that if you're the Celtics, you got to take the bullet. Like you're going to have to Now you're gonna have to say, listen, guys, you gotta talk about this. To me, you gotta be in front of this stuff.
Right.
Let them talk about it, get it out, but eventually the questions will subside. It'll shift to Missoula. Now, in one-on-one interviews, will guys ask? Yes. But these group things, let Tatum and Brown address it on Monday. I'm disappointed in my coach. I'm still his friend. What more can they say, right? Like, they're not going to say nothing crazy. You know, man, if I see him, I'm going to swing on him. No. I mean, it's going to say, right? They're going to say they're disappointed.
We're supposed to win a championship.
Yeah, we're gonna go forward, move forward. We like Joe. They're gonna be coached.
Right.
I mean, if I'm a good PR person, I'm like, Jason and Jalen, don't go rogue on this. Don't make more headlines for us.
You know who I want to hear from, though, really? And you talk about Brown and Tatum, obviously, those two. But I want to hear from Al, what Al would say. Because Al is a benevolent, but will Al take a turn one way or another? I'm really curious to see if he's going to, kind of branch out, because he made some last year in the playoffs. Al surprised me with some of the things he talked about, his mannerisms, the way he's grown. I'm really interested to see what that veteran guy is going to have to say, because, Big Al has always been, hey, I'm right in the middle of this ship. I'm staying right here. Will he take any steps forward in a leadership role?
I think he's going to be the PR leading. He's going to be leading the PR conversation, I think, honestly. But what do you think?
I think it's up to Jason and Jalen too. Like, I think both of them have to be like, hey, we lost a leader, but we got to step up and be leaders ourselves. And Marcus, I want to see what Marcus has to say. Like, yeah. I'm sure these dudes are like, okay, let's be honest. Most of the players probably knew what was going on. You don't think they knew about the investigation? You don't think that they knew that their head coach was in the streets? Like,
whoa. We are great. We folks, you make sure you put the like button for us right now, because this is breaking news.
I'm just saying. Like, you don't think that their head coach knew? You don't think they knew their head coach?
Wow.
You don't think they knew that their head coach had an off-court life? And I'm not saying they knew all the details and all the.
Right.
I'm not saying.
I see what you're saying.
But you don't think you think Jason and Jalen and all them were like, Ime was dating who? I had no idea. Like, you don't like. I just think they deal with it. He's a man in his prime, in terms of, like, whatever it is. They're like, hey, he's single. I ain't got nothing to say. I think they look at him like, well, damn, Ime, I'm 25. I'm supposed to be doing the acting a fool. You're 45. Like, you ain't supposed to be doing that, because that's real. Like, at age 45, you're supposed to have a little bit of wisdom and be like, hey, man, this ain't for me no more.
Let me ask you this.
At 20,
how old are you right now?
I'm 50.
Not that far off from 44. I was going to say, you ain't that far off.
I just want to know. Just want to know the wisdom.
So, I've been there. I'm not saying been in me, but I'm in 45 before.
Come on, G. You just got married, man.
Your wife,
choose your words wisely.
Your wife this, bro. Your wife is gonna watch this.
No. Actually, I'm 52. So I'm 52.
Damn. Okay.
And so
you done aged 2 years.
I was just saying, like, I'm 50 something, 52.
Right.
So for me, I've been there, right? And so I'm not saying there, but at 45, you don't do the things you did at 35 or 25. You don't. If you are, that's really probably not good. Right? So for me, I feel like the players are looking at him like, damn, dude. And yeah, you wasting our chance for a champion. We trying to get banner 18. We trying to come back from last year. We're trying to be that team that people think we can be. And you doing dirt.
Well, you know what? You say this. Does this motivate the player even more so. No, does it set a fire on them even more so to prove, how, like, okay, we weren't just about Ime. We were a team. He was part of what we did, but we're going to go on without him, and we're going to win in spite of what happened with Ime here, our coach.
Yeah, I think eventually it shifts from disappointment to motivation, right? I think it shifts from what it happened to what's about to happen. And I think eventually they'll get over it. They'll get into practice. It'll be fun. They'll get back with the guys or whatever, but now they upset. What Brad said. They're like, damn, bro. Like, come on, man. Like everybody, that's the whole terminus. Come on, man. Like, that would be the coherent theme of what's the first thing you would say to Ime. Come on, man. Like this, come on.
Does Ime ever coach again? If you had to make a prediction, does he ever coach again in the NBA?
Go ahead, Max.
Wow, that was nice, bro.
Yeah, you did that to us earlier, man. You did that to us earlier. Go ahead, man. That's an assist right there.
No, that was a nice shovel pass. Thank you very much, Steve Nash. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because you're going to have to start at the bottom. He's going to have to start as an assistant, and you're going to have to gain the trust of an organization. And there are going to be women groups out there, Me Too movement out there, who are going to come at him in every possible way. If you're an organization right now with things that happen in Phoenix, things that happen here, are you prone to go out and hire a guy who has been in the limelight when it comes to what you can't do with women, what you can't say with women? So for me, I think he's going to be hard pressed. And I am, just like Gary was saying, I believe ultimately at the end of the day, they say they're going to reevaluate. I think they are going to reevaluate. But I believe, and this is me talking, not the Celtics, I believe it's going to be a buyout at the very end. It's like, okay, this is sprung up on us right now. There's a bunch of legal stuff that has to come into play. There's no way we can fire this guy right now. But what we have to do is we have to find a way to pay him and move away. I'm wondering, for me, what happens if the Celtics start off poorly? Now, if they start winning right off the bat, it's going to be no harm. Nobody's going to even think about it. But if they start losing, are people going to start thinking about Ime, glorifying on what he did with this team? Because I don't care who you are. If you're a basketball purist and you're around this team, you understand the importance of Ime and what he gave to this basketball club this year. He gave them a character. He gave them a purpose. He gave them toughness, something we have not seen with Tatum and Brown since they've been here. And that's why they advanced the way they did and almost won the NBA championship.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I think Ime will coach again, depending on how he handles this situation. Now, if I'm Ime, I hire an image coach, okay? First of all, I fade into the darkness. Like, don't get seen public. Don't be out with no women. Be out with your son if you're seen publicly. Like, disappear for a while, okay? No public appearances, no quotes, no nothing. Okay, no, he's not on social media anyway, but just disappear for a while. Get out of the consciousness. The season's going to start. Everybody's going to be playing games. LeBron's going to be chasing Kareem's record. Like, there's so many things about to happen that will lower this story and everybody's priority, right? So if I'm him, eventually I call up, Robin Roberts, Gail King, somebody like that, and I do like a exclusive
one-on-one.
Yeah. Saying, I apologize. I had a problem. I'm seeking therapy. I lost myself. I'm working on being a better family man, better father. Say all the right things. And I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's what he's thinking now. Like, man, I blew this, right? I don't think he intended for this to happen. I think if I'm him, I go away, I come back in, I don't know, February, March, something like that, whatever, do an interview, apologize, say you're in therapy, I'm trying to be a better father, trying to be I'm trying to settle things down because things got out of control. And I promise to be a better person. Once the season ends, he breaks ties with the Celtics. Now, not every team is going to hire him, believe me. But a team looking for a championship, trying to uplift their franchise, and he's been a model citizen, quote unquote, for like 8, 9 a year. And it might not be next year; it could be the year after. This could take.
And KD's calling him up. KD's calling him up. Young coach this next team.
He will get a job, and it wouldn't hurt not to be honest if he got married or stabilized his life. Like this is my who I'm with now. She's like he needs it's a process though. But hire an image coach first. Take a step back, like disappear. Don't be seen. No TMZ, no Page 6, no World Star Hip Hop, none of that. Where he was seen in Atlanta with blah 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 blah. He was the BT Awards. None of that public stuff. Act like you've learned your lesson. Go away for a while, and if not next year, it will be a year after. Like Matt said, it could be that a coach says, "You know what, man, you've been good to me." A head coach and says, I'll bring you on as an assistant or a consultant. Remember, Gerson Rosas left his job and got booted out of Minnesota for sleeping with one of his coworkers.
And
he became a consultant with the Knicks, where he was literally helping try to facilitate the Donovan Mitchell trade. So that was a quick turnaround. He got pushed out of Minnesota because he was doing some not so good stuff off the floor.
Goes around this time too, last year too. Yeah.
So it could happen fast, but it also could take one of his friends that he made in the league, Popovich, or it might not be Popovich, or someone, who knows,
right.
Be like, hey, Ime, I'm going to bring you on as a consultant or a scout.
But you know what? But here's the difference. There's a big difference in what you're talking about. You're talking about somebody who's the general manager of Minnesota. He is not the face of that franchise. What you do, you saw Ime. Ime was Boston Celtics. Ime were together. If you talked about Minnesota, you didn't think about that guy. You didn't think about him. You thought about somebody else. He's in the back. He's in the background. What you had was Ime in the front of everybody. He's in the front of your mind, not the back of your mind. And because of that, that's why I think it's going to be so tough for him to come back into any situation where you don't have fans who bring out signs, start chanting, doing all this stupid stuff, and going back to his
if the information doesn't come out, what can they say he did?
Right.
Sleep with his coworker. Like, now, if stuff comes out where he was like, if there's like sexual harassment lawsuits that start getting filed, if this thing gets uglier, where we start seeing there's some public news about like, oh Lord, this is like he was, then
right. But Gary, if we're taking Wick's word for it, though, that's the case, or at least there's another case.
Exactly.
Right?
So
at least a couple.
We'll see if more surfaces, or if around the league people know and they can't say nothing, but they know, hey man, don't touch this dude is toxic. Like,
well, look, you also got
like what Matt Barnes said, like, oh man, you should see. Then
it's 100 times worse than what you think.
Then I think
let me go on. Let me go on and say this about, and I've talked to some Black women about this, and Black women are probably even more pissed because somebody told me, said, well, hell, if Nia Long can't keep her damn man, what the hell about the rest of us? We in damn trouble. It's Nia Long. This is Nia Long. Another thing that pissed people off, Gary, that people are talking about is the fact that he had bought his wife, Nia Long here in Boston, and they're looking for a house, and he ain't told her nothing about what's going down. I mean, you know this is about to happen. Why are you bringing your wife here? Why are you bringing Nia along here? What is
he was hoping it would go away, Max. He was hoping it would go away.
Help me out here, Gary. Help me out.
That's the only way I can think of. He was hoping it would go away.
It's a very confusing story. If he knew in July that they were investigating him,
right?
Okay, because apparently that's when he was told in July that, hey man, we looking into some things. We're gonna get back to you. Hang tight, and he is still like, he must have thought they weren't going to find something out. Someone going to talk. I don't know what he did after that. Whether he continued to try to see the woman, did he cut things off? Who knows? And then maybe he thought, you know what? Optically, it's best for me to have my wife, my partner, or whoever Nia is to him, and son in Boston. It's optically better for them to come to my games, to see that I have a family. That might have been a last-minute ditch move to try to save things.
That's a good point.
In terms of
get the hell out of here.
Well, he's trying to show the organization he's stabilized. Like, I'm not out there in the streets. I got a family here. They just moved.
I'm just saying, Josue, that's nothing that you believe. Because you are not going, I'm just telling you, you're not going to bring a woman. If I'm about to get prosecuted and somebody's about to put me on deck, I am not bringing my woman and my child here saying I'm looking for a house. I'm not looking for a house. I'm looking.
And you wouldn't get the woman that you were sleeping with to help you do that.
No, you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for a damn doghouse. That's what I'm looking for. If I can get out of that. But I'm not looking for no house, and I'm bringing her here. And on top of it, even more news comes out. Well, supposedly the woman who he slept with had the travel arrangements for Nia Long. That's the next thing that oh yeah. Now you give me the big eyes now. Yeah, okay.
He's crazy.
All right, Matt Barnes. Now you're talking about, well, I can think of them, that's how Gary gets me. So he gets me pissed off sometimes when I talk to him. Well, you don't want to really think of, I'm not really sure. His eyes get off. I'm like, come on, man. Come on. Do you really believe that? There's some pissed off people. And I know, and I've talked to some pissed off Black women about this very situation. And they're hostile. They're heated. Even more so the fact that, let's call a spade here, that she was supposedly white. And that just pissed them off even more.
No comment.
I mean, people.
No comment on where. Don't comment on that.
There's a lot of stuff out there.
No comment on what?
Her being what race she is. No comment.
Okay, she's green. Okay.
Anyway, you're right, Max. I just think that we are a forgiving society. Like, everybody loves a comeback story, but he's going to change some things. But do I think it might have been a last ditch effort to save his family? Yes. Or do I think he wanted to be? It could have been he wanted to be close to his son. Like, he could be a great father. This doesn't make him. There's some bad husbands and bad partners who are great fathers.
Yeah.
So he could have wanted his son, and he probably doesn't. He doesn't have the time to raise his son by himself. So Nia had to be part of the package. That could have been it. Where she's like, well, if he's going, then I'm coming because I'm gonna raise him. And he raised on the road. Like, he can't raise a boy. You can't raise a son by himself. That's not a life. That's not
my friends. Let me say, if I see a shitstorm approaching me, I'm not bringing my family into it. If I see a hurricane coming, I'm going to say, wait a minute, honey, why don't you come down here with the child and we're going to sit here in the house. We see it coming. Instead of they're away from it.
But why were they moving?
Hollywood.
But Max, why were they moving here?
So what?
Why were they moving here? Because they were moving here. I know that.
It's damage control. I think I'm with you, Gary. I believe in that theory. Trying to paint a better picture, man. But that doesn't negate the fact that this was going to happen one way or another. Like, he had to know that shit's gonna hit the fan.
He knew that he was being investigated. Like,
right.
They had
and something's gonna come out.
This is not a secret investigation.
I am so happy I'm not near both of you, so I can slap both of you in the face. What the hell is wrong with y'all? Never mind. I'm gonna go because this is what and this is the great thing about talking about this, and this is why we wanted you on, because I thought we got a really different perspective on what this was about, and I am just as curious to have you back after Monday, because I want to know. And here's the other thing I wanted to ask you though: what was the room like when you sat in there on, was it Friday? What did it like? What was the energy level like?
None. It was no energy. It was a high level of sadness and disappointment for, you could just tell. Like, this organization feels like it was headed in the right direction, coming off a finals appearance. They hired a coach they thought he would be here for 10 years. He had a positive, impact more than any of us believed in the first season. Heading to the second season, I mean, and you can talk about the basketball stuff in terms of the injuries to Gallinari and Robert Williams, things like that. You can say, well, this has been a bad month, but to me, this is altogether different. This is not nothing to do with basketball. This is just like, I'm sure Brad Stevens, and Ime both had friendships with him. I'm not sure how close, but I'm sure there was a friendship there. You gotta look at your friend in the eye and be like, man, what's wrong with you? We gotta let you go, or we gotta get you out of here. You can't coach this team anymore. I'm sure there was some very hard conversations when they got the report back, and who knows when they investigated. Did they tell him at the beginning? And so he because obviously they had to do,
was the decision already made?
Yeah, but obviously they had to do some. How do I put this? Like, was somebody following him? Did they investigate him before he didn't know it? So he was doing his dirt, and there's the investigator. And we look at a TV show, in a car in an unmarked car down the street with a camera doing, like, is that what happened? And then in the middle of it, they told him, we've been looking at you. Like, I don't know. That would be fascinating. I can't assume that he knew about the investigation at the beginning of it. Because if someone, if people tell Max, I'm investigating you, shit, you gonna be at home. You gonna be home watching Matlock. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't leaving. You ain't doing nothing.
Why I got to be watching Matlock? Why can't I watch Matlock? What?
Okay, Sanford and Son.
You've been watching this.
Yeah, like, the thing is, if that's the case, right? Like, if you know you're under investigation, you ain't doing nothing. So it might have been, and I'm probably certain that they had some stuff on him when he didn't know it, and then said, we've been having someone eyeing you. And
I'll say this: if they told me I was under investigation, the last thing I'm doing, and I'll say it again because people are screaming at me right now, I'm not bringing my family. I can look you in the eye, Josue. I'm not bringing my family. I'm not doing that. Right. I'm not bringing them in harm's way. The question, and here again, I keep hearing these questions in my head that people are asking, and there's like, Max, so ask them this question, and I'm gonna ask you and Josue, what happens if that was a player instead of your coach that was in that situation? What do you do then?
Which player?
Does it make any difference?
Kind of, if we're being honest here.
If you want to be...
I think that you would have to release the player. I mean, if the player... First of all, okay.
Trade.
Here we go again, Max. Here we go again. If every player who had a relationship or fling...
outside the relationship
with someone in the organization for which they played would be banned from playing, there would be a lot of great players who would be at the house and be unable to play. Max, I mean, let's be honest. if we're doing this, then that's the case. This is nothing new. We all know players who had relationships, flings, however, hung out with, kicked it with, however you want to call it, someone in the organization, okay, was it a conflict of interest? Probably yes at times. Was it at times? No. So it's hard to say if it's a player, whether being with just someone in the organization, that's not, do the Celtics encourage that? No, any team does not encourage that. But then if it goes to harassment, if it goes to other, if a crime or violation is committed, then you're talking about maybe releasing the player, suspending the player.
I don't, and I'm saying this, and I want to be as fair as I can be. I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe if it's player 12, player 10, player 7, but if it's player 1, player 2, player 3 on your team, I would find it hard to believe that you would release that player in this situation.
If you warned him with Ime, remember, apparently he was warned twice.
And he kept doing it?
You kept doing it. So if you're warning star player, he keeps ignoring your pleas and then crosses the line, I think suspension is more likely than like outright release.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. I think it would be a suspension.
And here's the point I'll make when we're sitting there talking about that. Remember what happened with Kobe Bryant in Colorado?
Yeah.
Right. What happened there? Did the Lakers support him?
Yeah.
He was married.
Yeah, it was a bad look. Terrible.
It was a bad look, but did they
proceed as a one-off, though? That's the thing. That's the difference. Is this a one-off, or is this what Ime was doing? Is there multiple cases?
Wait a minute. You think it was a one-off with Kobe Bryant?
No, I'm saying in the eyes of the court and what was going on that time, yes. But the thing with Kobe, though, that's more surprising was that she was claiming it wasn't consensual. So that was a whole nother thing. But then he went to court. He was proven, he wasn't found guilty, or the settlement happened and they moved forward. They settled, right? Yeah, the settlement happened and they moved forward. And the wife, obviously the wife forgave him and got the big ring and the whole press conference and all that. But look, I just don't think, I think it would be, if it was, to say, Jason Tatum, it's a suspension for a few games. I don't think you get suspended for the entire year, nor would he get traded. I don't know. But again, we're under the assumption or what we've been told that it was a one-off under that. Under that umbrella.
I just think about, I'm like Gary, and I'm trying to put things in perspective. And I know it's a different time, but I'm thinking about
that's another thing too.
I'm thinking about Kobe Bryant when everything happened to him and how his reputation was tarnished and all these other things. And then he came back and he became a hero. And a lot of people forgot about that. But there were a lot of women groups who still hung on to what Kobe Bryant did and said he was guilty of whatever it was. So I just think that I'm with you guys on one point, but I start thinking back on the best player, one of the best players to ever play the game. Or you always hear the rumors about Michael Jordan leaving the game when he did and leaving for a couple of years. And then you hear that it was possibly gambling in there. And the commissioner told him he had to leave for a little bit. So I'm just trying to think of some of the best players who've ever played the game and think about what they've been in and how they've gotten out of it. It's just, it just kind of blows my mind now to think about it.
Right. But Gary, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you jumping in here. Is this your first time on camera talking about all this stuff, or have you done it already?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we appreciate that. There we go. We got the exclusive with Gary Washburn. I know you've been writing about it, but a lot of people, for obvious reasons, you want to be careful.
No, I'm giving you.
That's a brother.
I'm very. Okay, hold on.
Come on, Josue. You know that clap.
Okay. Hold
like
on,
that sarcastic one, right?
Josue, let me be a brother here. Hold on, Josue. I'm going to give one of these.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's better.
Wait a minute, Josue. I'm going to do like this. Wakanda.
Wakanda.
Okay.
Oh, God.
We appreciate you checking in, man. Of course, check out the A-List podcast. You can see Gary on there. His writings in the Boston Globe. He's this is fun, man. This is fun. He's hilarious. A-List podcast coming up soon. I'm sure you guys will have an episode coming up soon. Next week, we'll have plenty to talk about, Max.
Tuesday.
Yep. Good stuff.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Of course, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like Max always tells you, we keep it 100 here. Cedric Maxwell Podcast.
Damn it, we definitely kept that 100 today.
Yeah, we did. For sure. Well, you had Gary pleading the fifth, man. It don't get more 100 than that.
No comment.
Whatever, man.
We'll see you guys next week.